The Uncle Gold Podcast.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. My name is Borna Zuber. Welcome to the Uncle Gold podcast. This is the first episode that we're doing. My name is Borna, and I started this podcast to kind of bring valuable information to everyone listening and watching on the YouTube channel. I presume that you didn't have a rich uncle in your life that taught you how to get the gold in life. So we're going to try to bring some value through talking to people about really useful topics and get you the gold in life through this podcast. So I hope you will enjoy it. And today I have my first guest ever on this podcast on. His name is Dominik Poljak. We know each other since we were little kids. Dominik, welcome to the Uncle Gold podcast.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to talk on the first episode. It's a great honor. So, hi
Love
everybody.
to have you here.
Yeah, awesome. So the topics about today, I believe so we can start about the motivation, what is motivating us to, share the value with everybody, because I believe that everyone has some challenges, and usually the people that actually come to watch videos like this actually realize themselves that there is some space, there's some opportunity to learn, to get better, because it is within their grasp. They can learn it, but they just did not have the opportunity to listen or to hear or to broaden their perspective, to understand the workings of things in their life, and at that point be able to go to another level. Because in my opinion, that different level is usually the level of the perspective, because that's when you know that things are changing, not when somebody tells you, when somebody measures something. You simply know that you've reached another level, because when you look backwards, you see that it is totally different, and sometimes you could not imagine it on the previous level. And usually this is something that you cannot conceive when you're on a a bit lower level. That does not have to be something grandiose, like earning millions of dollars and things like that. It can be as simple as learning a new skill, for example, diving or doing something like that actually pushes you out of your comfort zone, especially, for example, if you have a phobia of water. This is especially talked on from David Goggins or some other famous people, so it can be very simple, but on the other hand, it can be extremely powerful, because those changes that happen are actually on emotional level. And once you have that emotional power, you can actually go through things that were previously unbelievable, and that is something that is valuable, because no matter what you achieve, especially materialistic, that cannot make you happy, and all people know that. But everybody are looking for that emotional juice, as Tony says it, says that thing that actually inspires you, and everybody are looking for that. And especially, I believe that goal of everybody is to make it available on daily basis, because I've noticed that people have some amazing achievements during their lives. For example, the Jordan Peterson talks about the finishing college, graduating from college, and then at that point you are king of the mountain. And 5 years after that, you're working at McDonald's because you don't know what to do with that college, or you're switching to different careers and you're searching for yourself. So it is very, very important to find a way for you to be happy, at least on some particular moments of the day, on a consistent level. I believe that this is very, very important, because I've seen people that actually are in different areas of life, and they have very extreme ups and downs, because it is for most people very, very hard to find that drive, motivation, and things like that. And I believe that this actually is something that is also habit. This is also skill, emotional muscle, to find something that makes you thrive, something that creates your drive. I believe this is the most important thing, and I believe that this channel will promote that idea, that we will actually be able to create at least some sparks, some ideas that we also heard from some great other people, that we have not invented ourselves, but actually are copying. Because in today's world, it is actually, I would say, with all due respect, it is quite foolish to invent something yourself until you have studied the vast knowledge that is available right now. It is really wasting you're really wasting your time if you are not first reading the results of someone that has invested like decades into figuring something out, and then instead of you like trying to figure it out on yourself, like this is really wasting of your time. But when you reach the level when you understand that material and you are expert on it, then of course it is a really great thing, and it is something that should be encouraged, that you come up with your own things. But until then, it really does not make any sense. I would like to compare this to mathematics. Imagine you have got like 2 3 of classes of mathematics, and then you try to figure it everything else on your own. You can imagine the results. You will if you have like, even if you are extremely talented, you would go really far compared to the knowledge you've gotten, but still you would not be even close to the like hundreds of thousands of, I mean, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of years of research, so this is actually not very useful. And this is really good that people that actually have those ambitions, I believe they will find a lot of valuable things in this podcast, so I'm
I
really
agree,
looking
man.
forward. Yeah.
You said it well, and I see you started with the right energy into this. I believe that's the energy that we need to kind of push people towards it. I have a feeling that a lot of people are not open to the idea of starting to work on themselves, and I hope this podcast will open people up more to the idea. I know that for me, it kind of started during the period of end of high school, where I kind of got familiar with the idea, and just being exposed to people who are into different things and like different stuff, and then you're kind of thinking about it. But I think that my whole personal development journey started somewhere around start of college, actually, where a friend of mine recommended me looking into a Tony Robbins book. And now that I know that for me it was really hard going into it, because I wasn't a reader. Like, I never liked to read because I always felt that it was forced on me. And then he recommended, like, oh, Tony Robbins has audiobooks, like you can listen to it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that sounds interesting. And I just downloaded a bunch of audiobooks and started listening to his programs. And I loved that. Before we go more into self-development, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and give us a little intro how the self-development journey started for you?
Yeah, so I actually started as a software developer, and I've spent a lot of years in college studying the like topics based on programming, computer languages. So there is like some certain level of complexity that needs to be handled, and that field of work actually requires a lot of concentration, a lot of focus. And as with everything, if you want to be really good at something or great, you have to dedicate a lot of time and energy to something. And the caveat with this is that you are getting much better at this one thing that you are focusing on, that people are actually referring to as laser sharp focus, and that is really good. But on the other hand, everything else is starting to get worse and worse, because there is no thing as plateau in life. So either you are doing it and getting better, or you are not doing it and you're getting worse. So whatever it happened, for me it was for my health. It was actually declining because a lot of working hours, and since I was young, it didn't matter. I always like thought, it will get better, I can recover and things like that, until I've reached that point that I have like taken a lot of things as certain, that I can recover. But I realized that I have to do something, because I have to, for example, save my back. I had to start working out and things like that, so that I would not have constant pain. And I was like 25 years old, so I was like quite young, and I already had a quite intense back pain. And after that, I've realized that I have to start improving my life, because it was a lot of it was challenging regarding the energy and both my health. And on the other hand, I wanted to improve other things as well, because the personal development field is very broad, and you have like at least 5 to 6 very important categories that it is really important. This is not something that it is individual. This is like something that is universal to human being. For example, having friends, your relationships, your purpose, your goals, your health. This is something that everybody needs to have to in order to be happy, and then you can, like, when you have most of those things, then you can focus on other things that are unique to you. And with today's way of life, it was very challenging to find everything. And I realized that I need to find some different approach, or just to find help, because I've realized that there are, even though you're like giving 110% and things are not working, and when you hit the wall, and this is also, that is also said in the personal development books, this is very great feedback, because when you do everything you know with everything you have, so you are invested 100%, you can say even 110%, and what that actually means, of course, this is impossible, but this actually means that you are taking from your health. This is like taking from the future. You're taking from your future, because one day when you're reaching for that 110 or 120%, one day you'll have to pay by not working and fixing your health. And this is like the thing you have to worry about if you do it for too long. And I believe that at that point of life, I've reached that level where I hit the wall, and I just had to find a different way. And the first thing was like to ask for advice from my friends, from people, and gather as much as information I could to just reach the best decision I could. This is like something that does not mean you will find the truth. There is no absolute truth, but this will be like some heuristic, like something that is like 50%, 60%. There's some percentage of increased certainty that will allow you to have some scope. This is again the emotion, because you have like done your work, you've done your homework, and then you will try something to get better. And you've also mentioned Tony Robbins to me. I remember that, and even at that point, I was like quite skeptic. Why is this guy so special? And I believe it passed like something a year. Then I started like reading the biographies. I started comparing different results, people, their histories and their childhoods, and you can see how some people had it really, really tough, and they actually managed to do it. And for me, it was like really amazing, because there was no any difference in some like advantage that a lot of people have. Like those people did not have like advantage of intellect, like intelligence. They were not like some super genius. On the other hand, they did not have like someone to ask. So, they did not have the background of parents or even uncles that had some knowledge. They had nothing, and
They
they
didn't
had,
have an Uncle Gold in their life.
yeah, they did not have that boost, someone to tell. They had to figure all those things on their own, and they've actually managed to do it by going through the information and making that process consistent. So whatever you know, but you are still listening to things and gathering and changing the approach, being open to other ideas, because when they did not have nothing, they were forced, because they do not have something to eat. So their existence was like very threatened, and they had to do some radical things. Radical times require radical measures, and for them it was, I would say, radical openness to ideas. They were ready to try things that even themselves probably thought that they were crazy, and in normal circumstances they would never try them. But on the other hand, even though at the end of those experiences they still believe that though that experience was not, it was close to something that they actually expected, but they still found something that was very valuable that could be reused on something else. For example, I don't know, they tried to, for example, do investing with some people, and everything failed, as they actually, they believed, they do not believe that it will succeed, or they have actually expected to fail. But on the other hand, they've met during those process, for example, some people, so they make some networking, and for example, they've learned the basics of investing, even though they lost all their money. But that you can look that as a major failure, because you've lost all your money. But on the other hand, you have gained the knowledge of how you lost it, and that was actually for them a step forward. And this is something that actually it is very hard to accept emotionally, and that comes from the different perspective. When you change that perspective, you actually can see how the failure can be your gain. From the perspective of other people, it can be, you've tried this, you've invested this, you've lost this. But on the other hand, those same people can say that, for example, traveling is very good idea because it is investment in yourself. And if you ask those people, how can you see that as investment? You have to invest your time. You are losing your time, which cannot be brought back. On the other hand, you have to invest a lot of money, because the farther you travel, or your travels are more exotic, you invest even more. And usually when you come there, it can be stressful if you like go outside your comfort zone to really experience those cultures, not like just doing the main stuff or just being in the hotel and just seeing the main attractions. And on the other hand, what happens that most of those people, that once they do it, they come back at their home, whatever the country they came from, and they feel different for the rest of their life, because they have seen something. They have seen something different. They realize that this actually exists. They have experienced it, and the emotion is different. And actually, that emotion and that perspective is what something that pulls you forward and can change your life entirely, totally. And I believe that something like that cannot be explained and learned until you experience it. And that's why even the Tony Robbins says about the emotional control, that you cannot think yourself into a state of great feeling. You cannot like have a problem and then, or have a tragedy, or be depressed and then like think about it. Yeah, I did that. I should do this. This is the solution, and I have to do steps like this, or I failed that. No, when you do that, you're going in your mind and you are repeating the same emotion over and over again, and basically you are just fortifying it. So even when any trigger or association that is connected with that emotion or that event that triggers that emotion, you will actually go right into that emotional state. So you basically are creating the highway to stress, depression, and all those bad feelings. And since you're doing that most of the time, you're not like being in a happy state. So you have a dirt road to happiness. So you have to really work for it to be happy. And on the other hand, you have a highway to stress. So basically, you just do this and you are already pissed away. For example, people that wake up in the morning and you ask them, how are you? And they say, I'm really like stressed, or I'm really bad, or they start cursing. And when you ask them why, well, I woke up. I just woke up. And people actually, this is so common that people are actually accepting this. Okay, yeah, I understand. The reply to this is I understand. But on the other hand, when somebody's happy doing that, people say that he's crazy, because in today's society where the triggers for unhappiness are so common, that being happy is basically considered unnormal. This is not normal to be happy. What happened to you? People think that you are taking some drugs or things like that, because it is so common in our society, because those triggers are unconsciously being set all around us, especially social medias and things like that. A very interesting thing that I've recently read. This is some video, The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Maybe you've watched it.
I
And
haven't watched it yet, but I got some recommendations from a few friends to watch it.
yeah, I watched it recently, and it is like very interesting statistic. I'm not sure whether the numbers are correct, but since the social medias came around, it was like from, I believe, 2010, the number of suicides among young women actually increased by some very large percentage. I'm not sure whether it's doubled or something like this, but this is crazy, because I've also read that like being too weeks on social media is equal to the level of depression and stress caused by seeing pictures of others people being hap- happy, but actually it can be most of the time in a fake way. That amount of depression or bad feelings you get from seeing that is equal to a lifetime of a depression that a man got like 30 to 50 years ago, where there was no social media. So this is like really extreme. So imagine you have the same brain as same emotional responses, but you have something that you have to like take on a on a weekly basis, like that sometimes had to deal with their entire life. So but we are not aware of this. This is like, for me, it took a lot of time, like to increase my awareness and increase my perspective on what is actually happening on a daily basis. for example, what you do, what triggers you to understand things like that. And even when you have such perspective, you still have a lot of things going on automatic mode.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
and this is like, yeah, something you have to work on. And when you have like all those moving parts, figuring out, this is something that actually motivated me to, you know, study it, because I believe that this is very noble thing to do. So why? Because somebody can say, yeah, why will you study personal development? It makes no sense. You know, you just get a little better, it doesn't matter. But actually, it is not, because if you get better, everything around you and everybody around you get better. Because when you make yourself better, especially in personal development, you are able actually to change lives for your friends and for your parents, for example. You can make better atmosphere, you can make people feel much better because you understand those processes that are happening in the background. You can talk through it, and this is more valuable than anything else. You can get a lot of money, but still you can have really critical relationships. And when they did a study about like on Harvard University, they've studied like people through years, like their whole entire lives, from their, I believe, from the college, or I believe from the end of the high school, and the people that actually earned a lot of money, and those that did not, that actually were really, that had really tough times later in life. And they figured out that the difference in the quality of lives and the length of their life and the quality of their memory was directly related to the quality of their relationships.
Hmm.
So this was the major factor, not the success, not the intelligence, nothing. Even though some people were very successful, rich, and smart, you know, and so these relationships were the key. And on the other hand, personal development is directly connected to the relationships. So I believe this is why the personal development something is a must. Actually, in my opinion, this is something that should be learned in school. So this is like really, really important, and I
Yeah,
believe so that,
I agree. I
yeah,
think schools are doing a terrible job on, I would say, two or three things. Two main ones. First one is the one that you just mentioned, but I would direct it more into the interpersonal skills, like how to, basically from how to communicate with people, not just like learn this, memorize this, calculate this, repeat that, you know, more like how to talk to people, how to interact, how to connect, how to be open, you know, how to be
yeah,
honest with yourself. All of these skills are super valuable when you start living after school, but nobody talks about them during school. And the
yeah,
second part would be concerning money, because I feel that schools really do a terrible job on that part. So we'll have to do something like a money part in this podcast as well, and we'll get to it later. But tell me, Dominic, you mentioned a few of these people that are really into self-development, that are there for years, that have been studying it, that are kind of like, some of them consider them gurus, but I think they're just really good at what they do, and they really have good intentions to transfer their knowledge to other people. Can we go through some of the main people that you know? I'm trying to think from the perspective of a person who joined this podcast and they're thinking like, all right, this sounds great, but where do I start? Who would you recommend them go through? What are some of the people that they should follow, listen to, Google, take their books and audiobooks? Who would you recommend?
well, yeah, this is like, I would say this is like the easy answer. If you are looking for the best person in the world, I really think that this is Tony Robbins, because he has topics like that are very diverse, and basically whatever you are interested in, that you're currently like dealing with, and you are like want to solve it and be very effective with it, you I would definitely recommend Tony Robbins. But usually what it depends that what your current issue or challenge is. I believe that you should specialize on finding available clips on, for example, YouTube, or things that are available that can actually help you directly with that. So my way of like going with this is actually listening to those people that are really good at it. For example, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Jordan Peterson. Uh, there are also, when you like Google those people, you will usually find other people that are related to them, Robin Sharma and other like maybe a bit older and people that are not even alive at the moment. You can also find their speeches, but it is even more crucial that you are able to skip the parts that are currently not interested in, that you are not currently interested in, just to gain that passion and a feeling of competence that you can actually find your solution very effectively, so that it will not take like weeks or maybe even years or months or years, so that you can actually like be very focused on what you are really passionate about solving. For example, if you are passionate of like reaching another level, for example, financially, then it is really good to like read the Unshakable from Tony Robbins, just to see the basics and very important things that you can do with your money. And if you like want to go like into physical development, you just want to push yourself uh, beyond what you can even imagine. The book that I'm currently reading that is really phenomenal is Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins. And I would definitely recommend the audio format, because even all those people from the personal development are recommending the audio format uh, before the written text, because usually they make it a bit longer with their comments, so you can actually hear the author and their actually thoughts about certain parts of the book. And what is more important, you can hear their voice, and you can, through that voice, you can experience the same emotion they have while they were writing that text. So you can actually put yourself into that emotion. For example, if you want to push yourself, this is very important, because we do everything through emotions. Based on the power of your emotions, that actually determines what you are able to do. And Can't Hurt Me is something that is really phenomenal, especially because he's talking about his difficulties in his childhood, and he's talking about the challenges in the Navy SEALs, then how he got through the ultra runs, how he ran over 100 miles, 200 miles, and things. This is like really crazy stuff. And he also talks about the mental processes that are happening in his mind. So this is something, for example, for the physical part. If you want to like if you're very ambitious, and you have read some of those books, and you just want to go on another level, I believe that very good book that I have recently read is 80/20 Principle. That was like perspective changer for me, and that has not happened for a very long time, even though I'm reading books like regularly, because it actually said a very cool principle that I've learned. It is that personal development, it is also very, very broad field, but there is like very important conclusion about the field, because you can deal with a lot of things, and you have a lot of solutions. And there is like one thing that they mentioned in the book, because that principle that is considered 80/20 principle, that 20% of things that you do actually amounts to 80% of the things you produce, your results, And they said that it is very efficient if you can skip things, like totally eliminate it, like do nothing about it. If you can in your life, this is the most efficient thing. And that actually goes through the idea that there are people in the world that will, for example, can teach you how to deal with snakes. So when the snake attack you, or you can maybe even go to advanced things like going like extracting venom or things like that. But for example, the basic is like when you're going through the nature, like you can be bitten by snake, and how you can deal by to not get bitten. And there are some certain procedures, maybe what you have to wear, how you have to walk, how you have to not scared, how you can scare the snakes. Maybe there's like many other things that you have to do. But what is the most efficient, when you ask yourself, what is the most efficient way to deal with snakes? Is actually to not go where the snakes are. This is the best thing to deal with snakes, because for that you have to do zero education. This is zero. You are 100% it will work, and you have invested zero resources, no time, no money. So basically, what it says that when you're doing things, it is the most important part that you can do is to decide whether you want to do it or you do not want to do it. Because if you Or sometimes you have to do it and figure out that you do not want to do it. This is normal. But when you can, for example, just maybe collect all the information you have available, and then just be able to decide, this is much more efficient way if you're like really into personal development and you want to like balance your both health, both money, relationships, travels, hobbies, learning new stuff, networking, investing. You know that there are a lot of things, and if you go into like that's, I would say, diverse portfolio, even in investment, you can see this as your life, that is your own portfolio. You have to be very efficient with what you want, because even though you can have maybe the brains that allow you to go like twice as fast as others, but this will still not get you anywhere, because no matter how fast you are, if you like want to go around the earth, it will not make any difference. You know, this Usain Bolt and someone who can barely run, the result will be same compared to the size of the earth, because it is really too big field. But on the other hand, I believe this is the saying, you know, that the stupid person with a plan will always outperform a genius without a plan. So you know, so this is actually this is actually the idea. This is the same for the lawyers, that when they said what is the difference between two lawyers when they come, for example, to defend the client. uh, Actually the difference is not in the experience of the lawyer. So for example, you can have a much better lawyer and someone who is just have come out of the college. The difference in results is in preparation. It is not in your skill. So if someone is much better prepared, no matter how skillful the other one, the chances are that he will not win. The preparation is everything. And even in this book that I'm reading, the Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins, this is actually the same principle that he actually mentioned when he was the readiest, the strongest. He was one of the best. Even others said it. He actually got into that state where he was like daydreaming about going into the Delta forces. And when he was daydreaming about, he was going to the selection process, and he actually was already there mentally, emotionally. He actually finally went through and he succeeded. And at that point he lost focus, and he did some basic casual mistakes, that he actually like started to running into the wrong direction, like, and he made a mistake. He lost a lot of time, and when he lost a lot of time, he was not selected. At that very day he lost it, and that was the greatest mistake of his whole military career. He actually started to daydream, and he was one of them. He reached it, you know, but he lost focus. And this is that usually happens when you do not have a plan, you know. And this is all again based on emotions. This is not something that I believe, and even those people that actually suggested him and welcomed him into the selection process said he will be a great addition to the military, to the Delta forces. So he was someone that was wished to join those forces, you know. He was one of the best, and still the emotions derailed him, and unfortunately he did not make it. But this is again the lesson, you know. This lesson, what I come to realize: whatever happens to you, whatever the greatest tragedies, the value from that tragedy is in most cases more valuable than succeeding in that very event. If you are able to like reach the conclusion why it happened to you, this is far more valuable than the success in that very thing you were trying to do. And that actually happened to me. You know, you can, for example, when you reach those such valuable conclusions, you can transform your life in like months. You know, you can change yourself, and this is the change in perspective and emotion, you know. Yeah,
I agree. It's just hard for people to remind themselves of that. There's a great saying that says, I either win or I learn, which means that there
yeah,
is no loss. You either
exactly.
learn from your loss or you win, right? So there's basically no loss, but you have to be aware of that. Otherwise, there are a lot of losses along the way, and some people get very stuck up on them. As you mentioned before, it's all actually about focus, because if you focus on the loss and you're not asking what's good about this or what can I learn or what's valuable on this,
Exactly.
you'll just focus on the negative and it will weigh you down like a weight on your legs, and it'll be a lot harder to do other stuff. It will be like running with having a bag of cement on your back. It will just like, you'll waste energy, you'll be a lot slower, and you maybe don't even get to where you want to get. So
Yeah.
what I think that is a huge focus barrier for a lot of people actually in their lives is their focus on money, and they try to make money their ideal solution for everything. I personally think that it's very important, but I also think that people value it maybe too much, and that they forget the human part, and they even forget everything else sometimes. So I think that's a very valuable discussion to be had, and I want you to go into a little bit about money. And tell me, Dominic, what does it represent to you? Like, where are you with money right now, and what would you maybe recommend to people listening to the podcast? How would they maybe improve their life and their relationship with money?
Yeah. So I believe that from money, it works for everything, it's pretty much the same. Like they said, one of the great one of the great advices that I've heard that those people actually, those mentors actually gave is that when you want something, that can be, for example, money. And then what you have to do is like go 100% into that direction. Like invest everything, I mean, everything you have into going into that direction. And then what usually happens that people say, oh, well, but what if it does not work? Like, what if everything fails? Yeah, and that is the great part, because if you go 100%, like really you give everything in it, you will crash like in nothing else. You cannot compare the amount of pain you will get when you hit that wall, because you will find you for example, people and I also wanted to, like, at one point I wanted to earn a bit more, and then I had to invest a lot of energy, and then I actually lost my health at one point that I had to stop doing it, and things were not working out. But the point of this is that you work and you crash, and from that you've realized that this is not the way to go. And if you want, for example, the money you can go, and when you reach it, that goal with the money, even it doesn't really have to be the millions, it can be much less. You will have a bit more money that, for example, is enough for your like normal living, or even for normal living. And then at one point you will realize that the price for having it will be very, very high compared to your level of happiness. This is usually what you can realize really quickly. And at that point, you will try to find a better approach, because you will find that there are some things, some trade-offs, something that you can change, and that can actually improve the quality of your life much more than the amount of money. And even that percentage for every country, I believe it is calculated that after 1%, after 1 point, and this is like not a very large number. I'm not sure whether it's in Croatia is, I believe that it is something less than 2,000 euros per month. I believe that's something like that. Well, I believe, in my opinion, I believe this is still a quite individual thing, but this is like some general opinion that was reached, that after that point, you actually you do not have some significant increase in happiness. And usually what Tony Robbins actually says, that whatever wish you have, you can actually improve your happiness and your desires, your results, your achievements, by asking what do you want. So what that means is not like general what do you want, but actually when you say, for example, money, then when you start, you have to dig, I believe, 7 whys deep. So so for example, you want money, and then you say, why do I want money? And some people would say, I want money, for example, to travel the world. This is like very common answer. And why do you need to travel the world? So I would have time for myself and have fun, for example. So why would I need to have time for myself and have fun? So you can even cut it into, why would I need to have time for myself? Well, because I'm working so much and I'm really tired, and this job is really tough, and this company is like not very suitable for the way of life that I want to do. Okay, so for example, for some people, that will already be an answer. They would find like through the brainstorming that they can either change their company, they can, for example, change within the company, they can change positions, they can negotiate better terms, or even, well, if there's nothing worse, they can actually change their whole specialization. You know, their career path. They can totally change. I've met people that actually studied in one college and they changed to, for example, the IT because they have found that this will actually suit them much better. And they've like even finished different colleges. They were like they got honors on their college and they have given up that and like started a different college and finished that, and they even have to pay for that college. So they took a bank loan. They take a bank loan and then they started working for the first time in their life in their early 30s. They got the first job, and they are now happy, and they can be actually now considered like quite successful, even though they just started. So this is really amazing. This is still possible, but the challenge with that is actually, to when you come to that realization that you have hit the wall, for example, none of those answers actually suit you. You have dig through your whys, and the only way to go to be happy is to change yourself. If you don't, then you are making yourself. Then you are unconsciously you're happy with the current state. Why? Because you have come to conclusion that the pain, the price you have to pay, for example, for changing, for maybe starting a new college, is much greater than staying where you are and suffering that pain that you have, because that changing is much more painful. And on the other hand, you can even at that point, even when you have such conclusion, you can still decide, okay, these are my options that I see now. What other options I'm willing to search for? So even in that point, you can say, okay, this is like a dead end. This is still a wall, but I can maybe search for other people that I can even find a different perspective, because there are people that did not have finished the college and they are even more successful than those that have finished colleges. There are people that are doing freelancing stuff, So this is the whole process, that you are never settling with the level of suffering you're currently having and deciding, okay, I'm suffering now, but I'm willing to invest my time to search for something better. And a lot of people will not do. This is the difference of people that are watching this video, because they are actually searching right now. They're listening. They're not like sitting and watching Netflix or drinking and like doing nothing that will just even inspire them to do something different. They're actually listening, and that is actually the difference between people. Even though that you are slower, this does not make any it does not make any difference, because while you are on that path that you are changing, you still have hope. You're searching for, and you believe it is somewhere out there, because you have seen and heard that there are many people that have found it for themselves. And while you are on that path of attainment, you are you are actually really good, because even when you reach that, this is also like very funny. Even when you search for different solutions and you find something that is much, much better, something that you have dreamed of before, and it was like a mystery, how can this be achieved? Even when you achieve it, after a while, all those goals, the illusions of happiness, it will again disappear, and you will be at the same place, uh, probably emotionally, with main difference that you know how to get there again. This is actually the most, because you will realize, yeah, I'm again where I was at the beginning, but I know that I now again have to search for and find a better solution. And this is what actually happens. This is what I believe that Tony speaks of in terms of hunger, never-ending hunger, because you know that once your hunger stops, no matter where you are doomed for like really having a really bad time. And that's why the Jordan Peterson even says that it is much better to be at a really horrible place and have that vision of getting better, even step by step, then being on a really, really great place, like having the abundance of money, of everything, and not having anything to like hope for and strive for. Because it is very, very common for those people that have been given everything, money, love from parents, from people around them, that they actually just ended up going from rehab to rehab. This is like a common thing, because you have to develop that emotional muscle to like recognize the situation you're in, and then being able to like, okay, say, I'm now at this point, it is really horrible, it is like complete disaster, and I'm aware of it, and now I'm going to search for something better. I
And I'm
believe
going
this
to
is
change it.
I'm going to change it. Yeah. And even if I don't know how, I will do everything in my power just to go into that direction. And even though I do not know when it will end, when will I change it, who will help me, whether it's possible for me, what will it take, I don't know anything, but I know I will go into that direction, and one day it will happen, you know. And I believe this is the most important part, because actually what I've seen, even those for people who have achieved incredible results, they are everyone are talking in that same pattern. You know, they had a goal, they had the current position, they did not know how to close that gap, how to go reach that level, and the only thing they had is like continuous search for that. And the difference between the time of those who are actually have achieved it in shorter period of time and those who have achieved it in a longer period of time is the intensity of their emotion, the intensity of their hunger, of their desire. And this desire is something that is also not given to people. I believe this is not something that you are born with. The hunger is something you are actually consciously producing. For example, if you want to produce hunger for food, this is very easy. You just do like some very intense workouts, and you will be so hungry. You will generate the natural feeling of hunger, and I believe that that feeling can be actually related to the feeling of hunger for being successful in anything, or just happy. You know, Yeah, because you really have to do something that is not ordinary, even for those things that you've seen on, I believe, those social medias and things that are very, very like nice and common and new standard. But when you check it out, this is not normal, this is not standard. People are actually posting the best of the best of the best, and even on that they're actually posting filters. So so you can actually see someone on some perfect destination, like having the perfect body, perfect mood, with perfect people, and they have perfect free time with perfect weather, and they hit a filter on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically,
To make it even better. Yeah.
yeah, good,
Yeah, I know
yes.
what you mean, and that's one of the topics that I want to go into next. But before we go into social media and all of that, thank you for the insights on the money and the attitude. And I really do feel that the hunger is a huge part of it. I clearly know a difference from myself when I feel hungry for something when I really want it and when I don't, and it's a completely different thing. The results are just different. The energy that I bring into something that I really want is completely different than something that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's just like
Yeah.
you can't compare it together. Before we go into the next part, Dominik, tell us where people can reach you and find you. Where are you most active on social media? And if somebody wants to reach out, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on both LinkedIn and on Instagram. So yeah,
Mhm.
Dominik.Poljak, and that's it. You know, you can contact me really easily. So yeah,
All
there
right.
is no issues, because those profiles are public, and yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
I'll leave the links to Dominik's profile below in the description for everyone who's watching on the YouTube channel. For everybody listening, please look it up and leave us a comment on how you liked everything that we discussed so far. We're going into a short break now for 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back. And welcome back from the break. Welcome back to the Uncle Gold podcast. I'm here with Dominik Poljak, and in the first part, we covered some really cool, interesting topics about self-development and motivation. We also talked about some people that are really in this space that can provide very useful information, like Tony Robbins or Jordan Peterson. And we even touched on the topic of money and what it represents to people, how it can be easily more achieved. And we finished off with the hunger that's created, that's very necessary if you want to achieve anything greater in life. And we started talking about how people actually perceive money and happiness, and what influence social media is having on us in modern times, where we have everything online and people are posting only the best pictures of themselves. Dominic, I want us to go into that topic next. I feel that social media impacted my life a lot in the last 2 years. Before that, I wasn't on social media almost at all. Like, you could probably find 20 pictures of me on Facebook before 2018. But then somewhere around there, I was listening to a lot of useful podcasts, and one of them was Gary Vee's daily vlogs and blogs and everything that he does online. And he kind of convinced me that if you're starting a business or if you're selling any type of product, if you don't exist online, you're basically not reaching a huge audience and you're missing on a lot of opportunities. Social media has, in my eyes, a lot of potential for starting something that you're working on, promoting your products a lot better and faster. And I love social media through that perspective. I really enjoy spreading a good message, and I really do think that a post should be more optimistic. I don't remember posting anything negative to anyone, so I try to encourage people to do the same, but I also want to hear your perspective on social media. What do you think about it, and how do you use it, and how do you see it?
I believe that, especially after watching the Social Dilemma movie, I believe that social media is very powerful and very dangerous at the same time. Because if you manage to like be very focused, which is like almost impossible, to just watch those things that are actually of interest for you, for example, those podcasts, or you have some educational materials, or you are, for example, like David Goggins, you are promoting or posting things from your life that can actually help others to feel better, or maybe to be inspired. For example, you are maybe uh, posting some food that you have found, so maybe somebody else will come and try it because it looks good on your account, or maybe you've been somewhere that is very nice and it is probably affordable, or maybe when somebody is nearby, he can check it out, or maybe he can plan a vacation. This is like very valuable, you're sharing value. But on the other hand, if you are just like watching uh, pictures of others that are just posting their time of having while they are having fun, I do not see any value in it than just, you know, having fun yourself by watching this. Unless this is also like your opportunity to learn how to have fun yourself. For example, I don't know, if you like doing like crazy things, you would like to learn a backflip and you see a guy doing a backflip, or if for example, you would like to try a bungee jump and you see someone bungee jumping, you can just listen to his feedback and learn something for yourself. So this is actually very valuable. And I have learned a lot of those such things on social media. So I use social media, and I believe that this is very valuable, not just reach like a large audience for your business, but for your personal development, because you can actually reach those people that are really good at personal development and have a lot of experience. But I say, on the other hand, it is very dangerous, because you can be stuck into those recommendation cycle, where you are spending your hours and your life and your energy on things that are actually of no interest for you, and you are wasting a lot of time, so, and it can actually even make you feel bad. This is also this is the worst thing that can happen with the social media. For example, seeing something that you would probably like, and then, for example, feeling bad because you cannot have it right now, or you can feel that this is unfair, or you have any other negative emotion regarding the post. Maybe people can be even jealous of some people, I believe so. And I believe that those emotions are like natural. This is not something that is strange. It is normal. For example, especially when you like read like news, like people who have millions but have actually stolen all those money, and they have actually lived the best time of their life, because some people are struggling to put food on the table, but on the other hand, those same people are watching others, like traveling the world, eating at the best restaurants and not doing anything to deserve that. Because Simon Sinek is actually talking about those leaders, that it is natural if you have a person that is contributing a lot to the community or to the people around. It does not have to be like some leader of tens of thousands of people, but it is natural that even in the historic times, that even in the, for example, in caves, that a lot of meat, a lot of food was always given to the best warriors, that they were the leaders of the pact. Why? Because when the danger happened, has struck them, for example, a wolf's attacked, or maybe some wild animal, because though that leader ate the most, he had the most energy, the most strength to deal with that danger, and he would use that strength to protect the others. So that was actually the strategy of the survival. You put everything in one individual that is the strongest and has the highest potential to do the most good for the community, and nobody has anything against such leader. Even the opposite, that he's even more celebrated, because nobody would like to put himself on the line to deal with wild animal and die. Somebody else has decided to do that for all of them, and this is natural order. But on the other hand, when you look social media, you can see people like stealing money and having all that without doing anything. And on the other hand, you have, maybe it's not even you, maybe people who are struggling with life, and doing all they have. They're giving all their heart, their energy, and their intellect are putting into one thing, and things are not happening for them. On the other hand, somebody else is having everything, and he's even laughing at somebody else, like, what's the problem?
Mm.
So that can actually trigger very bad emotions, and
Yeah.
those emotions actually do not serve you. When you it does not serve actually anybody. You cannot change it, you cannot impact that, and actually it robs you both from emotions and your opportunities on daily basis. Because if you are feeling good and you have not seen those things, especially bad news, if you're reading, for example, not even social media, but the news, you can also see the news on the social media. You can, for example, feel better, and when you feel better, you can communicate better, you can spread better emotions, and those emotions get back to you in the similar form. For example, you are in a good mood, you say hi to your neighbor, and actually that he responds back and asks you how are you doing, and you have like a small chat in like the elevator on while walking on the street, and that actually helps you feel even better. And then you can, with that emotion, come even in your office, and like increase the mood of your office, because you are now feeling a bit better. And this, all those processes can happen entirely unconsciously. And when you have a one great day, it can really happen that you can have another great day. Then you have like maybe an okay day, that is the third day, but overall you have a great week. And that can also happen with months, and the things roll over, and the power of accumulation, and things can happen. So this is not just, social media are now like the most common triggers, because on the Social Dilemma movie, this is really like an important thing that it is being discussed, that social media, it is not very problematic like other addictions, for example, cigarettes, drugs, and things like that, because people that are actually addicted, they actually decide to consume those drugs more often. But with social media, even though, for example, you, for example, have decided to work now, because you have consumed the social media, you have read those podcast, those news, and you have seen the podcast, and this is like your time for like some real serious work is now, and still you can get a notification from social media that somebody has sent a message, somebody has liked your post, and basically what happens, it makes a pattern breaking in your brain of being able to focus on something serious and pulls you back on social media. So there are like multiple consequences of this. This is like reduces your ability to focus and do really important work, which destroys your productivity. This is not like a bit. It can really happen that people cannot concentrate more than 5 to 10 minutes, and this is very interesting because 5 to 10 minutes it seems like it's not a big deal, but if you realize that you need nine, I believe that it was like 19 minutes around on average to go into the state of flow where you're super productive. So this 14 19 minutes is just like reaching into that state, and now within those 19 minutes it is very often that it will happen, you get some notification, just check out somebody's live or something is happening on the social media, and then you again start looking at it, you're losing time, you're losing productivity, and still there's a quite a big chance, quite high chance that you will feel bad after watching it. So this is like not like one bad thing. There are a lot of bad things. And it actually doesn't matter for one day. Nothing will happen after one day. Even after a week, even after a few weeks, even after a few months. But these things now tend to stay for years. And after years of being not productive, it bad things will happen because it's like not working out for a few years, not working out for a few years, it will have a major impact on your health. And this is the same for your brain. And that's why I really like the Tony Robbins comment. There are like many skills that people have, many skills. For example, physical strength, then you have like different categories. You can go for flexibilities, or you can go for like endurance, for strength. Then you can go like all those categories are too vague, and you can go for being healthy. This is different from all those previous, because you do not have to be super strong, have super endurance, or be super flexible to be healthy. It's actually quite the opposite, because if you're extreme at anything of those, usually it means you're not healthy, because you have overextended in some point, and probably you have damaged something in your body. This is what happens to professional, players, or any professional sport.
Yeah.
And I believe that the same thing is in your professional work. So it is really important that you have those emotional muscles and ability to focus always available. And with the social media today, this is like very challenging. And a lot of people are actually, that's why I believe that mindfulness is very popular, and those apps that actually promote uh, practicing going in the flow and being emotionally stable, because today we are bombarded on every level if you are doing something. And I believe this is again probably some of the reasons why people are actually shutting themselves away when things are not working out, because you're subconsciously realizing that too many things are actually bombarding you, and you need your time to like get okay with yourself and what you want to do. And today depression, I believe this is the most common disease in the world, I believe. So this is like
Yeah,
very,
and especially during 2020, where we had the whole COVID situation where everybody was locked down at home, and they even lost the human factor where they couldn't like interact with people. That was a tough blow to people. But exactly there, I see a lot of opportunities on social media, exactly where they try to solve situations like that through social media, where a lot of people started posting more motivational stuff, more collaborations, more kind of like Zoom calls recorded where they would like talk about useful things, and a lot of companies reoriented themselves into getting people more involved and doing, I don't know, playing card games together over the Facebook groups, or I don't know, drinking evenings, stuff like that, where people would connect more. And I really do feel that it's kind of like a double-edged sword with social media, that when you see someone who's like super perfect, right?
Yeah.
It depends how you react to it as well. And I feel that that can be trained. I feel that when you look at, like we mentioned earlier with Tony Robbins, like the first time you see it, they're like, oh, who's this white rich guy who has everything in his life, right?
Yeah.
And that's an impulse. You don't do that anymore to people like him that you meet, because you learn that not all of them are like that. So someone who's perfect on Instagram might have really struggled to get there. And I also believe that people can use that to kind of motivate themselves and prepare themselves for what's coming. Also, a little bit of goal setting that we can get into a little bit later. But I feel that a lot of people saw something on social media and it made them more hungry, more motivated. They were like, I like that car. I want that car, and I'm going to go get it. And then they motivated themselves through watching stuff online all the time, exposing themselves to the version of reality that they want, and then going after it. And they, after a few years, they actually achieved it. And there are a lot of people who report stuff like that. So I feel that there's also a lot of usefulness there. And as social media and everything online is coming more and more predominant and relevant in like the business sphere and also in our private lives, I feel that schools should be also doing something about it as well. We mentioned earlier something with interpersonal communication and also with money. The third course might be something like our relationship to the online world, social media, and maybe even the virtual world where we're going with. When you look at VR and AR that's coming, there are a lot of companies that are developing basically new worlds where you can live instead of this world, right? Well,
Yeah.
we're still at the start phase of it, but we see how people go into computer games and then play at like World of Warcraft for like months without coming out of it, or years even, right? So I believe that with AR and VR, people are going to go into it even more. I think people should work on their relationship with technology, and I feel that a huge answer there is actually by working on themselves. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit more on this podcast, because I feel that social media is getting more and more relevant, and I definitely will watch the Social Dilemma. It seems like it's right up my alley. But I also feel that there lacks a personal development component in it, because someone who's mentally strong, who's trained themselves and goes into social media, he will have different reactions than someone who's a little kid that hasn't been through a lot. Like every comment then where you get it that's a little bit negative is kind of like a direct attack to you, right?
Yeah.
For someone who's more seasoned and been through a lot of stuff, he might, like handle it differently, or knows how to argument through a comment, or might just be better at ignoring stuff. And I think Gary also adds a very interesting perspective there. He says, like, look, somebody left a very negative comment on your video, post, or whatever. And imagine taking the time out of your day, going on someone else's profile, watching something where he invested time and effort to bring something to this world, and then you leave a negative comment on it. He says, like, that doesn't make sense in my mind. And when I listened to him, I was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense in my mind as well. He says we should actually go towards the hater, because if somebody is saying something really, really bad, they're probably feeling really, really bad from the inside. And we should actually start helping those people, not being like, oh no, like remove the haters from social media, right? Because that doesn't solve anything. What we want social media doing is actually including more people and getting more people connected, and actually getting the value that when you look at a new social media, I presume the first thing that you do, you enter in the search bar up there, success or motivation and things like that, to see what you can get from a new website that you joined. I did that with Instagram. I remember that when I first joined Instagram, the only post that I would see would be like motivational quotes, like everything was like super pumped. And then later, as I started using it more and more, it kind of expanded, and the algorithm gives you other stuff now. So I chatted to a friend recently. He said that during the pandemic, he knew a lot of people that were very negative. He said that he unfollowed and unfriended hundreds of people, just because he wanted to have that kind of clarity of content coming towards him, where he didn't fill his mind with negativity, where he just like listened and watched stuff that's positive.
Yeah, that's great, but this is actually someone that has some awareness and perspective what is important to him, and this is about the challenging uh, your own reality and beliefs, because when you see somebody else that is, for example, successful, only a trained mind can actually comprehend that, and especially even when it is like something that's somebody else has achieved in a fair way, even that only, I believe, a trained mind can see as an inspiration, because you can when you have, for example, felt those achievements and things like that, that the value they actually give you is not as high as it was presented, because when you achieve something, that no matter how much money you have, no matter where you are, it will not make you that much happy, for example. And then when you see that picture, it does not impact you that much. But on the other hand, somebody that did not have such privilege in life, because different people have different challenges, and they can still have that illusion that that level of, for example, material wealth, or maybe those friends that they have, like hundreds of friends, actually gives you some, for example, emotion. But this is the illusion that actually creates those bad feelings, because this is not as valuable as people think. To be like super popular and have like thousands of likes, yeah, that actually can look really good and you can feel good for having it. But the issue is when you have it, it is not that much. And especially, for example, this is, I would say, very, very tough ground to be on, because if you like have, I don't know, 50,000 likes per picture, and suddenly you have 30 likes, for you to be like going like from 5 likes to 3 likes, and you're not sure what those two friends are thinking, what is happening, why do they not like that picture, especially if this is your job. This is different if you're like just posting pictures and you don't care. But if this is your work and you are paid based on those likes, then it is really important to you, and that can even impact your mood, the one that the mood of the person that is actually posting those pictures. But and this is also crazy, because you are actually you base your emotions on other people's reactions, whether they click a picture or not, and whatever. And you have a picture that you maybe are not even aware that has some different triggers that other people's will like and will not like, and it is very, very, I would say, tough reality to be in, because if you have to be like all the beautiful and things like that, I've heard that, for example, women are under very high pressure, because when they post posts that are based on their own personalities, their hobbies, and things like that, those posts do not get not even nearly as much likes as those when they are half naked, or in some, I would say, like exposed combinations, where they expose their bodies through different clothes, or maybe even different destinations. Even when they, for example, picture a beautiful scenery from those destinations, if there is like no nudity, it will have no it won't have such response from the audience, and then they're actually eager to put like exactly that, because they have like social values, social proof that they are beautiful, and they just do things like that, and they're actually programmed from the society in that way. And then you're actually locked, and then everything, can go into one direction. And this is, and then even they are professionals, they work with it, they live from those social media, and still they have issues with dealing with it mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, And what happens when all that fame disappears, especially when it is based on the beauty? So you have a decade or maybe 2 decades where thousands of people are programming you that they like you because how you look, and then it happens that you are not as beautiful anymore as you were, And what happens then? And you have not prepared for it, because most people don't. Because why would they? Because everything is now superb and everything is great.
Yeah.
Why would you prepare? And that's what happens. I don't know, the depressions, and that's usually, I believe, for women it is in 40s or something like that. So yeah, this is like a very risky platform, because it gives you a lot of spikes. And this is the same for the gaming, for the VR, for everything you've mentioned, because you have a high happiness, high dopamine rush, or any anything, serotonin or anything else that makes you happy, those enzymes or whatever. And the issue is that when you lose it, you're really down, and you do not have any mechanism that you have developed to deal with it. And this is actually quite scary. This is quite scary, because people actually think that this is normal. This is normal, like, because this is something that is invisible. You do not know what can a person do. But this, I compare this, for example, if you like boost something like that actually creates a lot of happiness, and then suddenly you cut it. This is like taking a 100 kilos weight and just putting it on somebody's chest, expecting them just to lift it, like everybody else does, who can lift that. But it's not the same. It's not that everybody can lift it, and it depends on your experience. And from my personal experience, people are usually that are actually quite successful at what they do, they usually specialize in that. It's
Mhm.
not that they can actually be diverse and like superb in everything. There are some, exceptions, but their efforts were also exceptional. To be exception, you have to be willing to do something exceptional.
Of course.
Yeah.
I believe that that's very closely tied to where a person is going, like what direction they choose, and not just direction, but the outcome that they want to have at the end. Dominic, can you tell us a little bit about goals, goal setting, and maybe some of the things where you're aiming at? Because I feel that even with social media and everything that we discussed before, with money and with people that you surround yourself with, and all of that, it's kind of impacted with our vision and our idea of where we are going. I feel that a lot of people don't have a vision and don't have a goal, and are not even trying to get some clarity on the whole idea. I want to use this podcast to kind of bring ideas like that closer to people, where we talk more about how to develop a goal, a strategy, like steps how to get there, and things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about that one? Because I know that you worked on yourself a lot, and obviously your goals as well. What would you recommend to people, how to start even thinking about the idea of setting goals? What are some of your goals, and generally some tips and directions for people listening?
Yeah, that this topic of goal setting, it is really crucial, but it is usually quite it is very very often neglected, because the idea is that people that actually are explaining how to set goals are not saying the, I would say, the most important part, because people are defining how to set goal, but as the Simon Sinek says, you always have to start with why. You cannot say how, yeah, goal setting is important. For example, you can also explain how to fix a car, but nobody actually cares about that until they have to go somewhere, because until then they have a why. For example, if somebody is sick, and and for example it is someone from their family, for example a mother, and they have to like get them to a hospital, and there is some guy on the street that is actually showing them how to fix a tire in 1 minute, and they have a flat tire and he can fix it in 1 minute. Suddenly they are very interested in how can I do it, because my mother is sick, but they have a why. So until you handle a why, going with how, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And it really has no sense. And the why for the goal setting is that it has to be for you. And to be for you, you have to find something that is really big. And then why it has to be something really big? Because small, as one person said, uh, small goals do not have the power to steer a man's blood. So you have to have something that is for you, it's unbelievable, it is wow, it would be phenomenal if you achieve it. It's like incredible. It has to be something, because the idea of having it or getting to it must create emotions into you. If you don't do that, the goal does not have any power over you. And this is something that is also connected with the Bible, where they say, where there is no vision, people perish. So that actually means that if you do not have goal, you will basically die, because if you do not have something that you will invest in the and to go for, so the goals are like important as your life is. Because what happens with people that do not have goals is they're actually not doing anything. They're just sitting, like even doing that work that they're doing, but probably on a level that is the minimum just to not get fired. They get some salary and they're like very cynical, and they do not they usually do not find happiness in anything. Why? Because it is not connected to their goal, and nothing that you do cannot be measured. And you cannot say, for example, if you do not have goal, whether you have worked 1 hour later more, whether it is good or not. You cannot say it, because you do not know whether it aligns with your goal. For example, if your goal is to be promoted at the company, then working 1 hour more, it is very good for your goal, because people will notice you, you will create more value, you will get more experience with the job you're doing, you can give more value, you can network more, you can be better connected, you can have a better perspective about the work. There are a lot of pluses that actually go with your goal. But on the other hand, if your goal is to spend more time with your family, then that 1 more hour of work, it is very negative towards your goal. It will impact you will have less energy, because you will be more on work. You will spend less time over a longer period of time. You will spend much less time with your family. The quality of time, it will be also reduced. It can impact your relationships. It can impact maybe even having the family. Depends on how many hours you work more, and etc etc. That's the point. And then you can have both goals. What if you want to be promoted at your company, and you want to have like a quality time with your family? So you have to now brainstorm, what does it mean, what is more important, what is the priority? And then at that point you really have to think which version will make you the happiest. Because until you do that, you'll do random stuff, and at the end you'll probably be sometimes a bit later on work, and then when your wife or your family tells you you're doing it too much, then you will just switch to them a bit more. You will try to balance it out between the work. Neither you will get promotion at the time when you want, neither you will be happy with your family, and overall there is a high chance that you will not be happy, and you will fail at both goals, because they will be prolonged too much, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, and this is also connected with the Tony Robbins, the cure-all method for any problem, which I really believe and use it in any time I really have a great challenge, and that is the massive action. You know, with on that's his RPM method. You've heard about it, right? Results focused, purpose driven, massive action. So, but it starts with the results focused. So you have to know your outcome. You have to know what do you want. But first, you have to know why. And that why comes exclusively from the emotion you believe that outcome will give you. So people do not want money. Who do want? Nobody wants money. You can watch it. The money, nothing will happen. Some people are actually doing the emotional association with money, because with money, for example, they will have, uh, for example, a better car. For example, they want a better car, and then you say, "Why do you want a better car?" But because it will look nice, and I will have a better status, because it will be impressive. But why do you want better status? Because I want to impress someone. I don't know. maybe in your company, maybe other employer, maybe other people, maybe your family. You want to prove them that you have achieved something, but then why do you need to prove them? Because you have some unsolved um, issues with your family, because they've said something you did not appreciate, or you are feeling hurt. So basically you want to like move a mountain instead of talking with your family because they said something that you did not like and you do not agree with, you know. And when you consider it like that, you can actually realize that you can do a shortcut, because you now have your goal. You can save maybe a decade, or maybe even save yourself from not achieving that goal, because you can actually achieve it, but you can realize there is a shortcut. It's much easier to talk with people and solve that issue instead of like going all around and even not being sure whether they will realize it. There are many people that have actually gone the hard way and still have not delivered the message they wanted, you know. They became very successful and still they were not, for example, accepted from their family, because they did not, for example, they have not graduated from the college. For example, there's some guy that actually have not graduated from the college, and all his sisters and brothers were doctors, lawyers. They had some prestigious titles, and he did not have any of this. And he started his own business, and he had like the goal: I will overcome all this, and I will be not 10, I will be 100 times more successful than you. So he has like 10 Lamborghinis and 10 Ferraris, and he's still not respected in his family. And he's like, I can burn this Ferrari and nothing will happen. Why? Because I can. It's like his ego, because that car does not, it does not give him any satisfaction, but he just wants to prove that his family was wrong about it. But still, he does not have that reputation because he did not finish some of those colleges. This is absurd. But if you consider what kind of effort he had to put in just to reach that level and realize it will not happen, still, it makes no sense. So yeah, and there are a lot of things in life that are actually like that, because it is really hard to look in the mirror and ask yourself 7 whys deep. Why do you want that? And then reach that bottom and probably realize you're just hurt, your emotions were hurt, and you just want to fix that instead of like having a Lamborghini. If you want to have a Lamborghini, uh, I believe so that you can actually rent one for a ride, and you'll experience all the joy like you have it because you can drive it. And then there is a chance, it is not like 100%, but there is a chance that you will drive it, you will enjoy the ride, and then you will say, yeah, this is great, but this is not a car that I will enjoy driving over the streets, because it is not that comfortable, it does not have space, it actually does not serve me, not even close as any other car that I currently have or anything else. So basically you can save yourself time, frustration, resources, and you can actually be happier because you can achieve something that you have not believed impossible before, and you can be happy during that process and at the end of the process, and you can improve the lives of other people, and you can have that even higher level of happiness that is not connected to a thing or a goal, but actually to helping other people.
Yeah.
And this is usually that happens as part of the achieving those material goals, and then just broadening your perspective that those material goals are like not to stay, and that's helping one person actually gives you more satisfaction and joy in life than anything else that you can get.
Yeah,
So
I
this
agree on that one
is
100%. I feel that that's the kind of same thing with the social media that we discussed earlier. Like, yeah, you can aim for stuff, but if you don't have that inner journey in yourself figured out, or if you're not at least starting the journey to figure yourself out, there are going to be a lot of troubles along the way. So yeah, it's definitely better to work on yourself than not working at all. Tell me, Dominic, what are you working towards now? Like, what are some of your goals that you're aiming for? Do you have something in 2020 that you're going for? Do you also make like long-term goals for yourselves? And how does your process look like?
Yeah, well, currently, yeah, I'm actually analyzing many of the goals that I have written down. Of course, some I have actually achieved and I have not believed that they were possible, and some I didn't, which is also like part of the journey. And the point that I'm currently like doing that there's like very interesting part of the process that you can write, for example, 20 goals, and then you start like achieving some of those goals, and then you achieve like three, and then you realize that the other, for example, seven are in similar category, like they are similar in some sense. For example, they can be materialistic, and then when you like achieve those three, you realize that those rest of the seven will not give you the level of satisfaction or joy that you have previously, uh, estimated. And then you actually cross those goals, and the effect is the same as you have achieved it, because they are off their list, your list,
So
and
eliminating goals.
yeah, so because you're growing through that journey and your perspective broadens and different things make you happy. This is like natural process. So that actually makes you in some way to achieve much more, because you are actually getting rid of the things that you now do not want. At the beginning you have a lot of desires, but as the time goes and you actually start achieving those, then you start eliminating a lot of stuff, which makes it much more easier to achieve it, because if the number is less, you can have more focus, and then you can go put more energy in it. And on
Yeah,
the
and
other
you
hand,
have more time to do it actually, because you're not wasting time on something else, which
yeah.
automatically makes it that you're going to achieve your main goals faster.
Yeah, exactly. And very good technique is that if that you list like 10, 20 or 30 goals, and then you sort them by the level of priority, and then you just do the top three only. This is something I also learned. I'm sorry, but the idea now that I have tried to like do different things, and I believe that the goals have like different purpose. So the first part of the goals is, for example, the exploration. So you do the goals that if you do not know which goal to set, you do the exploration phase. So you do like goals that you do not have any expectation what will happen, but you go for it because it will give you a broader perspective. So this is actually setting a goal to be able to set a better goals, because it is again a skill that you do not have when you start. Nobody has a skill when he starts. And
So you basically trust that Borna from now doesn't have the answer, but Borna from the future will have the answer, and you're aiming for that.
yeah, exactly. So you are actually increasing your chance to be able to know what you want. So even when you cannot like have a feeling 100% sure, you go for a lesser feeling, but you just put a lot of those things just to be able to deduce and just conclude what will be a next better step. And now at this point of life, I have concluded that there were like a lot of external motivators that actually were determining what do I actually want, because I have, uh, as estimated that things will go in a different way, and now I have realized that a lot of those things are actually not under my control, and that putting them as a goal would not actually bring me joy and satisfaction. And now I'm actually more focused on finding my inner happiness based on what I feel, not what, for example, external sources or other people think. But that actually I have been able to realize until I have reached multiple goals, which I have believed that it will give me the external satisfaction, or maybe external approval from other people that I have found important to me, and I have come to conclusion that this actually cannot be guaranteed and it does not give results I have wanted. So the difference is that it actually does not matter, and this is actually the greatest value from achieving that goal is the realization what will give me more joy long term, and this is actually based on what do I feel. So this is like uh, as they say, going into yourself and analyzing your own paths to happiness, and this actually cannot start from the I believe that you cannot start from the beginning. You cannot go into that path from the beginning, because you have to go out there and try to achieve the goals what you believe that are best right now, because that the only way to progress. You cannot go and switch to a different timeline or the timeline of somebody else. For example, Tony Robbins. You cannot like go and put yourself like a similar goal as he is now, because he has done so many different goals before you that that have changed his emotional uh, like structure by based on the triggers he have, what gives him that emotion and the perspective, because he has the realization that some things do not work, and you do not have that realization, and because you do not have that realization, those things that are illusions, they still trigger those emotions. For example, you can have like a great feeling if you achieve something academically. For example, you get a great grade, or you like get a raise on your job or something like that, and that gives you a lot of joy. But if you experience that thing multiple times, after a while that thing does not trigger you anymore. It has no value for you at that level of inner fulfillment. And when you reach that level, then you are on a different level, and you like start searching for different things that will actually make you happy as you were before. So some things were triggering you more before, but I believe this is also like the emotional response. Like when you do something over time, you just get used to it, and this is normal process. You just grow through it, and you just find something that is better. This is like, I would say, like similar to the path to an enlightenment. Those people, people that meditated, they were not enlightened at the beginning. They had to go through many mind challenges, maybe maybe even addictions to some way of thinking, some barriers, some patterns, things that actually repeated. They had to go through all those mind challenges and like push through it until they actually found something and some new conclusion. And when they found that conclusion, they started to work on it, and then new barriers arose, and things went through and through. And this is like similar. For me, the most things the best things to like describe something is if it is visual, and the best thing that can be like compared to that, and I've seen that being used in personal development videos, it is the workouts or the sports.
Yeah.
Because you really can see the different levels of struggles. So at the beginning, people are probably having issues like reducing their weight, like removing the fats, like building some muscle.
Or
When
just
they
getting
have,
themselves to the gym.
yeah, or just get, yeah, this is like the basic, and this is like really tough. So the issue that a lot of people are not considering, this is a really tough thing. This is a really tough thing. And then when you finally reach to that level, then you have to increase your for example um, muscle mass. Then you have to eat more. This is a new challenge. When you eat more, you have to prepare higher quality foods, because you cannot eat bad foods. Then when you train more, you have to be very conscious about your health, about your joints. Then you have to be conscious about your breath, because breath also has direct impact on the uh, how you execute those exercises. You can get hurt. Also, it depends on your breath, on the pressure in your blood cells, in your veins, and not in blood cells. Then you have to, for example, focus on different muscle groups, and you have to like um, organize your workouts compared in regard to your day, to your other things. So the more you do it, you see so many different challenges you have not even seen before. And then what it happens, you come to the gym and you talk to some random guy, and then you ask him, for example, you are a new guy, what do you eat? And he's like experienced person in sports, and he will, for example, tell this is easy, you just have to eat. And when you will just ask him to elaborate a little bit, he will, for example, tell you, yeah, I eat 1 kilogram of meat every day. I take those and those supplements. I take so much thousands of calories. I stretch. I always take so many hours of sleep. But this is like easy. This is the mainstream. Yeah, this is for him. It's a mainstream because he's doing it. And then I asked, for example, him. He's doing this for 30 years, and he was actually professional athlete at some point. So for him, this is like breathing air because he has passed from multiple levels of challenges and he has found what works for him best. And even him, compared to other professional athletes, he has a lot to learn because you can see that his physique is not as perfect as somebody else's. You know, he has learned a lot, but for him as well, there's a lot of levels above because he's not living from this and he did not put so much effort in it.
Yeah.
And you know, and it is like really tough to actually be able to see that perspective. That's the best for something else is not the best for you at the moment. And you cannot even put yourself in their shoes because you have not seen the things they have seen, the challenges they have seen. Some people can swear on the solutions they are doing, but it is actually for their problem because they have reached another level. For example, like running 200 miles, I believe, has total different challenges that like running a 10 miles. You know, this is like totally different. And yeah, you cannot even comprehend what details they have to think through just to be able to get to those miles. And usually this is the same with everything else, with jobs, with relationships. There is basically probably like never ending depth to how far you can go. But if you go too deep for your level, you are actually wasting your time and resources. For example, if you want to lose weight and you are talking with a guy who is eating like 5,000 to 6,000 of calories because he has so much muscle mass that he has to like maintain just to stay that way, you will never lose your body weight, even though everything that he says is 100% correct. But it is for
Yeah.
him, and you
But not for
cannot,
you.
not for you. And you're doing the same thing. You have the same goal, you know, the same goal, but you cannot reach that level because uh, it can help you. For example, if you start to like really train and you can spend those 5,000 calories, but since you don't have that large muscle mass, it will like probably reduce your results, or it will slow you down because you will gain a lot of weight during that process.
Yeah.
It can be done probably, but it will be much harder than focusing on yourself and seeing what is the best for you. You know, so the goal setting is that in that way, you know, you have to be very conscious about to find people that are similar to you regards what you want and where you are. So you have to be able to evaluate yourself, but this is already talking about the strategy, and the strategy, as Tony has said, this is only 20%. Even the strategy is very crucial, and if you have wrong strategy, you will never achieve it. But the psychology is 80%, and that is that emotion. Because there, I have seen many people in the gym, many people that actually had no idea about working out, but they had strong desire because I don't know, they have linked the having a great body to their confidence, and they cannot imagine themselves not looking like that, like very muscular. And they have started like working out when they were like 13 years old, and when they're like 20 they look like you know, like the real professional athletes, even though they're doing it just for themselves, you know. And that's the point. They have like strong emotion associated with working out. It's not for him like I have to go tomorrow to a workout. It's like tomorrow I have a workout because I have to do it, then we can do something else we have actually talked about, then we can go and have a drink, it's a different mindset. Why? Because they have a amazing feeling associated with that workout. They know they will feel like really good, and then they can have a drink, before that it's like breathing air basically, but
Yeah.
this only happens when you have a strong emotion to it. And for me, this is also the realization that most people don't have any emotions related to almost anything. I mean, like no
Apart from
strong,
negative emotion.
yeah, apart from negative emotion, yeah. And usually that negative emotion can also be very used. This is more common that they have negative emotion. They can be also very used because people usually more likely change for like having negative association with something than positive. For example, most people will do something, for example, on a job. If their boss tells them, I will give you, for example, 100 euros bonus to your salary if you do this, and it is less likely they will do it compared to if their boss says, I will take 1,000 euro from your salary if you don't do that.
Yeah.
So even though the gain is exactly the same, so they will get 1,000 euro.
Yeah.
It is different. It is entirely different because people hate losing something.
Just as a disclaimer here, the Uncle Gold podcast doesn't recommend decreasing paychecks for people as a source of motivation for them.
Yeah, that's actually good for achieving maybe something, but it gives you long-term very negative results.
Yeah.
Because you can maybe push your employer to do something, but doing that you will lose the employee.
Yeah.
So
I think
this
for
is like
that, there has to be a special relationship between the employer and employee. I don't think everybody has that. So I think it will be counterproductive in most cases.
it is definitely counterproductive. But the idea is that people actually, I believe that there are some mechanics and like strategies that people are doing, like in this particular scenario, where they artificially has something that was artificially done. I know in classrooms and things like that. For example, people give people $1,000 for example, as a bonus. So they give that, and so they now have that 1,000 euros, and then they say, if you don't do this you will lose it or
Mm.
something like that. So this is still a bonus because they have
Yeah.
not lost anything, but you make an effect like in human mind that they are losing something, because even though they have been given for nothing,
Yeah.
it's like a bond, but they still have a feeling, I got it and now I don't have it.
Yeah. That's
And
a
that's
really good psychological way of going around it. I like it.
right. Yeah, and you still have like the effect of giving a bonus, and you still have an effect of losing something.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to
Awesome.
create that.
Awesome. Yeah.
And there's like a title. I know that some teachers have used that concept on the most problematic people in their classrooms. For example, there was a guy that actually created a lot of trouble, and he was very problematic in classroom. And then the teacher would decide, you would be a leader. You would be responsible for all the people in the classroom, so that they would be at their highest level, that they will have to give their homeworks. You will check on them. You will be responsible for them. And then they give them the title. They never had the title. They give them the title, and they actually have like those that fear that if they don't do it, they will lose it, because they know they are problematic. It's in that they will always been warned that they should have to change, but now it was something that was artificially given to something that never to someone that never had that.
Yeah.
And now he fears that he will lose that position, and he radically changes everything just to stay at that point.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything about losing that position, but it was just said that. and it was it's really amazing what mind does,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's a beautiful example of how our identity actually defines our actions, and I really want to use this podcast to kind of emphasize more how we can create our identity, how to improve it, and kind of how to get the best results out of it in the long term. But tell me, Dominic, as we're wrapping up this episode, we've come to an end. I want to leave the audience still listening, and thank you everyone for being here on the first episode who's still here. I know it's a little bit longer. Tell me, do you have any parting words that maybe kind of direct people in the right direction, something that's motivational to people, but also interesting and also useful and also full of energy, and something that will direct the end of this podcast into the right direction? I know that you've been listening to a lot of stuff that's useful to people, but what were some of your words that you would say to the listeners?
Well, I believe that the very valuable thing to do at every moment of your life is that you have to have time for the exploration of what you really like. So, uh, at every point of life, when you like see and listen to all those successful, very successful people, you notice that people, even in their 40s and even later, are still searching for themselves, because that progress process is usually, I believe, never over. So you're actually always working on yourself, and what gives you the confidence is actually and what people say, the self-confidence, it is the actually external thing, and you get it through exploration. You actually do a lot of stuff, even though you are maybe not interested in it, you do not see it as working, but you just try to put yourself out there as much as possible, and then through that process you analyze what works for you the best. You do the like analysis on paper, or you do it it's best on paper, not in your mind, just to see like all the things that you have like achieved and what makes you happy, just to see yourself in a different light. And I believe that that emotional feedback about yourself, what do you really like getting to know yourself, is something that is extremely valuable, because it will fast forward you as a person, both emotionally and professionally. Because as soon as you find out this, you will be able to create that powerful emotion of drive, of hunger, because you cannot be hungry extremely for a food you do not like. But if you find a food that's extremely tasty, your favorite food, it is really easy. It's like breathing. If somebody says, "Do you want this piece of cake?" and you love it, it's not like you like it, you love it, and then it is natural for you to be hungry for it. It is not you have to motivate yourself that you eat that cake in front of yourself. You're like, "Give me that cake," and somebody does not want to give you. What do I have to do for you to give me that cake? You know, it's a total different approach, and you can only get to that point when you do exploration on yourself. Because today, as the life has been structured, especially through school, high school, and the universities, we are all going in some like predefined way that actually has learned us not to be curious. Because as you've said, the learning and the reading actually has negative emotional association in ourselves, because we have always learned and read something that is not interesting to us, because we had to do it. We have a mental association. We have to do it, and you have to change this. The only way that I have seen it is that you do a massive exploration, like massive action. You go everything. It's like similar to that Yes movie, a Yes Man. You know, you just do a yes to everything, and I believe the results are pretty. It can be similar to the movie, but it can be like very different. You can like do a lot of stuff and be like not very satisfied with those, but the value in this is that you are certain that this is not for you. And what there will be like components of those experience that you will see, oh, I like that, I like that, and then you can actually combine that into something that actually is really interesting for you. For example, you like talking with people and you like sports, And then you can when you combine those two elements, you can maybe find a profession that actually combines those things. You, for example, the most straightforward thing would be to be a trainer, but you can actually do it online if you like the technologies, or maybe you can find different passions and connect in a different, more interesting way, which gives value on the marketplace because you are unique. And usually we are unique because we come from different backgrounds. You certainly have certain value. You just have to find what you really, really like. And to really find it, you have to see it, because nobody has uh, envisioned a cake and said, "Yeah, I love this cake." No, you have come to the some restaurant. You had a luck to somebody to recommend you a cake, and you have actually tried it. Then you say, "Wow, this cake is amazing." It's not like you have combined in your head all the ingredients and say, "I will love this cake with those ingredients."
Yeah.
You actually had to go there and be lucky with tasting 100 cakes, or maybe even more, maybe even hating cakes, and just trying them, and maybe just reach that one, and then oh my god, this cake is freaking amazing. I want to eat a kilo a day. This gives me, and then you even overdo it, and then you just realize, okay, I like this cake, but I just need to eat one piece a day just to be happy. And I believe that's with life. You have to go there, and usually you will have to try a lot of things that you do not like, but this will give you certainty in what you like, because you have tried so many things that you do not like, that you have a powerful emotion and feeling that you know what you like. And this gives you power to go for that, because you will not stray from that path. You will go directly to what you want. And I believe this is powerful. I believe that psychological thing is the most powerful thing, just to generate that hunger. And that hunger cannot be artificial. You cannot just, I want to be successful, I want to have money, I want to do this, because will, as Tony said, willpower never lasts. Nobody can do it on willpower, not even him, and he is the guy with the highest willpower I have seen. And if he says willpower does not last, then willpower does not last. So you have to have that pull effect. When you think about something like that cake, you have a natural pull to that. You want it. It's not like somebody has to push you. And I believe this is extremely valuable for your health. And this is I would say this is your responsibility to find it, because when you find it, everything around will get better, because through that hunger you will have energy to go for it and to help others around yourself just to achieve that goal. Because to achieve something, you have to help somebody else to help you, because nobody achieves anything alone. There has none from those successful people has achieved anything of great importance by themselves. Even when you look Oscars, you can see a guy thanking 20 people because he is there taking that that Oscar. So this is the point, and that hunger, that love for the cake, actually improves the lives around you. And that's amazing, because at the end you still get the cake. You love the cake, and everybody else are happy for you because you have reached the cake and help everybody else. This is the win-win. The secret, and this is the point, I believe, of the Tony's sentence: the secret to living is giving. That's the secret, because he has done everything in his life and his part of life to succeed. And he said nothing was working until he incorporated that thing. But that thought, those sentences are so deep, until they are connected to your basically everyday life. What you have to do, I have to put that juice in my glass that has this healthy stuff in it. It will give me energy. With that energy, I will have focus and opportunity to do something during my day professionally. With that, I will build something else. I will invest it. I will have time for my family. I will have time. Until you have those clear steps, until you have hunger deciphered into your very clear movements during the day, it will be super clear to you. Then you will have the power to change your life. This will be clarity is power. This is also what Tony says. So I believe you have to go with massive action and just see the world, go out there and see it. And that usually means like basically going to a job and talking with every person on the street you meet, for example. This can be frightening for most people. It can be like walking to a different part of the city, or just going through the internet and just checking all the educations or conferences you can go to network, or just sending a message on 100 most successful people or on LinkedIn just to give you a feedback because you want to create a group, for example, for this podcast or something like, this is like, because of today's age, it is a lot of opportunities, but those opportunities are scary. This is not easy. This is the reason why people are doing that bargain, because that trade-off, because it works. Nothing works in my life, and I will stay home and I will like wait for something to happen. Yeah, this is like great deal because you don't have to do anything. You don't have to like go talk with a person and somebody will say that everything you've said does not make sense. So this is a great deal, and you have to, as Jordan Peterson said, and I would like to finish with that thought. It is much greater risk to stay where you are than the risk going somewhere where you have never been, going into unknown and growing, even though you know it is very risky. It is much more risky to stay in your comfort zone. And for example, especially if you have someone like your parents or someone to help you out with like existential things like the basics, this is much more riskier than going out there and going through like hitting the rocks or even being hurt. And this is much more riskier because, as one said, you have to jump for your parachute to open. If you never jump, parachute will never open. And that's the dream. And you have to fly because you will build for things that are greater than staying at one place. Yeah, so this is everything I believe that the life is about, and people should always like work on themselves and helping other people through growing, because you have to first help yourself and then you can help others. It's like in the airplane. So I believe, yeah, you have to see yourself in your best light and see every insecurity, every flaw, every negative thing, and just go for it in a way the best you can, because your best is always enough.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. I love your message, Dominic. And I love especially the fact where you said that it is necessary to go into the unknown, even where you don't know what you're expecting. You don't know what's going to happen, but there's the possibility to grow and to expand and to shine your light brighter, and through that help other people. Brilliantly put. And there are a lot of themes here that we're going to expand on in the future, because I feel that this was a bit longer podcast, but I still feel that we didn't touch on all the points in equal amounts, and there are still some points that we should dedicate a few podcasts to. So we're definitely going to expand on that, and we're definitely going to shine the light and go for the best version of ourselves. I hope that everybody that was listening and watching on the YouTube channel, the Uncle Gold podcast, that you got a lot of value out of this one. And this is a great start to a long journey that we're going to do. We're going to talk to a lot of people and about a lot of topics to kind of bring the value to everybody listening, to change your life and to make this world a better place. I think that's the main point of this podcast. We don't know where it's going to end up and how this is going to evolve, but we kind of set up the direction straight. I wanted you to meet Dominic, and I wanted him to be the first person on this podcast. We've been through a lot of stuff together, and we know each other for a long time now. And I really enjoy talking to you, man, every time. So you're more than welcome to join us multiple times on this podcast. And yeah, thank you for sharing this awesome thoughts. Thanks for everybody watching and listening. I hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and a great life. And also leave us a comment down below what you like best. What were some of the parts that resonated with you? What were some of the things where you were like, whoa, I never heard anybody talk about this? Or what were some of the things that we maybe didn't expand enough on? What would you maybe like us to improve in the next video? And yeah, we're going to try to make best videos for you guys so you get the most value out of it. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Dominic, thank you for being the first guest on the Uncle Gold podcast.
It was a great pleasure. Yeah, I hope I have given the value, and that others will actually comment, so we can actually focus on their needs and desires. What can we expand on, and what we can share more. Yeah, it was a real pleasure.
Awesome stuff, man. Thanks for being here again. Thanks for everybody listening, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, cheers.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.